Hello guys, March 2020. That's been fun, right? It was my birthday month, by the way. And I'm going to be talking to you about all of the movies I watched in March 2020. Of course, now we're stuck at home. What's better us to do than stick on a film for 2 hours and, just forget about what you're doing. Forget about what's happening around you. Sitting there and watching a movie or a show and just getting immersed into it. And that's mainly why I wanted to watch a bunch of new movies this month and some rewatches. I did do one of these videos back in February as well, so you can check that out. But let's start off with the movies I watched in March. But first off, before we get to the movies I watched for the first time in March, these are some of the movies that I rewatched, that I watched for a second time. And the first one was actually Logan, I rewatched. And surprisingly, I rewatched this for the fourth time and on the exact same day it released. I didn't know I was watching on the exact same day it released 3 years ago in 2017, so that was quite interesting. But I rewatched it because I wanted to rewatch it, and I still love Logan. I still love it. It's one of my favourite combo movies. Definitely the best X-Men film. The ending gets me every time. Really great road trip movie. I then rewatched on my birthday Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I still love this movie, it's great. It's a solidly just fun action movie with just awesome action scenes, but it's also got a deep plot and great political moments as well. I think it's a really good Marvel movie, one of the better ones. I then rewatched Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I still have the issues I have, but I don't have them as much. The more I think about this movie, it's the sort of movie I just watch. It just makes me happy. It makes me feel good. I love all the characters, Kylo, Rey, Finn. I want to do some more videos about Episode 9. I feel like it gets far too much hate than it does. I really like the movie, and the more I watch it and think about it, the more I may consider actually loving it. I rewatched Superman 3 for some reason. I don't know, it was a rainy night, and I thought I'd stick something on just to go to sleep to. And I put on Superman 3, and yeah, I'd forgotten how awful Superman 3 really was. I mean, there really is hardly anything to praise. It's not as bad as Superman 4 by any means, but yeah, it's pretty bad. I rewatched Superman 1 and 2 not long ago as well, and I love those two movies. They're excellent. But Superman 3, man, what a bad movie. I mean, besides Christopher Reeve, everything in it's pretty terrible. Now getting on to the movies I watched for the first time, fully for the first time, in March 2020. And the first one I watched in March 2020 for the first time was Martin Scorsese's Shutter Island. I've been wanting to watch this film for a long, long time, and it came on Netflix, and I was very pumped to watch it. And this movie was pretty much as good as movies get, for me personally. It's not my favourite Scorsese film. I like Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and some other ones more, but Shutter Island is pretty much what I want out of a movie. DiCaprio, one of his finest performances. Mark Ruffalo, excellent. The entire story was just so investing and tense and mysterious, and I love something like that. Shutter Island was superbly shot. It's one of my favourite movies of all time now, and it's the only movie I watched in March 2020 that I can say is an A-plus movie. Moving on, I watched Spotlight, also on Netflix. This movie stars Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, and I really liked this movie. There was moments in this film where this really crew of people trying to release this story really started to get to me. I was like, please just release this story, and all these limitations they're getting to release this, just get these guys. And it really started to frustrate me and get on my nerves, and I love a true story like that. And this movie really did that. Mark Ruffalo's speech just really was like, just do it and just come on, man, get these stuff out there. And it's a really good movie, really inspiring movie, and it's like an 8 out of 10. I really, really liked it. I then watched 1969 movie Midnight Cowboy, starring Dustin Hoffman and John Dwight or something, I think his name is. And Dustin Hoffman easily stole the movie. His "I'm walking here" line, I didn't even know was from this movie before I saw the movie, but it's an iconic line. It's one of the first times I've watched a movie and be like, I know that line. It's from this movie? That's awesome.
You know what I mean? I'm walking here! I'm walking here! Up yours, you son of a bitch! You don't talk to me that way! Get out of here!
And I actually really, really enjoyed this movie. It's not great by any means, but it's solid enough. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story behind it. When they're living their poor lives in the city was quite interesting. A lot of him trying to get a job and making money I found to be a little boring. It felt a bit inconsequential at times, but I enjoyed Midnight Cowboy. I think it's a solid film, and I love the main theme song. I love that song. I watched Birds of Prey 2020 movie. I did a review of this. As a Birds of Prey film, I think it fails. As a Harley Quinn movie, I think it succeeds. That's all I have to say. In terms of the DCU, I don't think it's as good as any of the standalone movies. I think it's better than all the team-up movies. Moving on, Jumanji: The Next Level I watched. I also did a review on this. It's okay. It sets up for the third one. I mean, it does its job as mediocre entertainment. It's about the same as the first one for me. I watched Full Metal Jacket. This movie, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Of course, 2001: A Space Odyssey and The Shining are two of my favourite movies ever made. So I was really anticipating to watch this war film. And the first 40 minutes, the dialogue in that, and the direction, purely masterful. The dialogue opening sequence is just some of the best dialogue ever. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. But I really, really do love Full Metal Jacket. But unfortunately, the last hour or something, when it's in the war, I still love it. I still really like the war element of it. It's just not as interesting as the first 40 minutes to me. Moving on, I watched Sonic the Hedgehog. I did a review for this. It's for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It does its job fine. I'm glad they changed the design. And I had a solid time watching it. And that's really all I have to say. They did an okay Sonic movie. Moving on, I watched Lost in Translation on Netflix, starring Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. This was amazing. A truly brilliant film. One of those films where you just sit down and you're just so invested in these characters' lives and the way they're set up. And the way these two characters go ahead with their lives living in Japan. It was so investing and so immersive. And the ending was really beautiful. It was a great ending goodbye, but it also had the ambiguous behind it as well. And I thought it was really, really great. I watched 50-50, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it's about a man who gets cancer. And surprisingly, it was actually quite funny. And saying that a film about a guy who gets cancer and he's got a 50-50 chance of living was actually surprisingly entertaining. A movie I would like to watch again and sit down and be entertained by. That's pretty good. It's not fully sad. It's not super downer, but it's not so positive and so entertaining that it becomes lighthearted. It's the perfect balance of realism. You can see moments where this affects his life. Moments where he felt drowsy, I started to feel drowsy. Moments where he felt elated, I started to feel excited. So just how the character was feeling was how I was feeling consistently in the film. I thought it was really great, and I really, really liked the movie. It was a feel-good movie, and saying that a movie about a guy who gets cancer was actually surprisingly pretty funny and a feel-good movie. I think this movie was really unique, and I think you should watch it. I think it's a really, really good movie. I watched Saving Private Ryan, Spielberg's war epic, starring Matt Damon, Tom Hanks. I loved this movie. The opening action sequence, probably one of the best opening sequences of all time. So in the moment, so brutal. The final action sequence is just brilliant, and the ending had an emotional thing to it. But watching this movie was an intense experience. My only issue with it is that in the middle portion, it does get a little slow and a little uninvesting. But I think Saving Private Ryan is excellent. One of the best war movies I've seen. I love Spielberg, favourite director, and this movie just proves that even more. Moving on, I watched Face Off, starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. The first 10 minutes was so undeniably bad. I was this close to switching the movie off. But I was like, okay, wait till the story gets started. I know what the story is. Let's just wait till it gets started. And as soon as the story started, I started loving watching this movie. A lot of it was guilty pleasure stuff, but John Travolta and Nicolas Cage's performances were just so entertaining. And actually, it gave good depth and good character dynamics, and I really started to enjoy the movie. It's a dumb action movie, but at the same time, the plot here is so unique that I actually really enjoyed the style of the movie and the performances. I ended up actually really liking the film. The Great Gatsby, starring Tobey Maguire, who does a great job, and Leonardo DiCaprio, who says, "Old spot," 1,000 times. This movie I realized actually had quite a bad rap, like bad reviews and stuff, and I don't know why. I really enjoyed watching this movie. The style, the fast-paced directing, the story there, the Leonardo DiCaprio's story arc. My biggest problem with it was the exposition. The story was consistently told to us, and Tobey Maguire's character didn't really do anything in the movie besides the character we're there to follow. But honestly, I found the movie really entertaining, and I loved the style. Die Hard with a Vengeance. I've seen parts of this movie before, but I've never seen the full thing. I've seen all the Die Hard films now, except for Die Hard 5. But I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed Samuel Jackson's and Bruce Willis's dynamic a lot. Of course, they have done many things before, like Pulp Fiction and Unbreakable, where they're duos, but this is a true team-up between them, and it's really entertaining. When it gets into its third act, it's less entertaining. Jeremy Irons as the villain is really great. I really like Die Hard with a Vengeance. I think it's a fun Die Hard movie. And of course, nothing's going to match the first one, but I enjoyed Die Hard 3. Moving on, I watched This Is the End, starring a bunch of comedic actors playing very sort of mean, narcissistic versions of themselves. They're all sort of douchebags. I thought the movie was funny. It was fun. It was a solid time. Nothing I'm going to remember, but I had an okay time watching it. It was definitely entertaining and definitely made me laugh. Moving on, I watched The Walk, also starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I wanted to see what else he'd done because I really liked 50-50. And he did The Walk, and I thought I'd check this one out. And I thought this movie was really, really great. I really loved it. This opening of the movie where he's learning how to do tightrope walking and stuff was really investing. But the final 30 minutes were jaw-dropping. Not just from the amazing CGI work, but also from just how inspirational that moment was. And as a true story movie, I thought it was really, really great. And I think it's underrated. Moving on, I watched Fargo, 1996 movie based on the true story. There's a TV series made about this, I believe, as well. But I thought this movie was good. I didn't think it was any great. I liked the message at the end, and the Coen Brothers movies are all about big sums of money. And this movie sort of gives a message for all of their different movies, which I appreciated. But I thought the movie was really, really good. Not great, though. It was too short for me to fully get invested into the characters or the story, but I actually really liked Fargo. I watched Catch Me If You Can, another Spielberg movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. This easily became one of my favourite movies of all time. Just straight in there. I mean, brilliant. John Williams' score, the fast moving of the movie, how investing it was. Leonardo DiCaprio's character. Yes, he hasn't really worked for anything his whole life, but you understand exactly why he wants to do these illegal things, and Tom Hanks trying to catch him at the same time. Their characters' dynamics work so well, but Leonardo DiCaprio, this might be my favourite performance from him, even though I said Shutter Island was great, but this movie was just automatically awesome. I loved it. I cannot wait to rewatch this over and over again. I watched Heat. I was really anticipating this movie. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro were great. A lot of the sequences were great. Their conversation was really good, and some of the action sequences were really good. But unfortunately, I thought the movie was far too long, and the first act really bored me. But when it got into the second and third act, I started to like it a lot more. But unfortunately, the movie just... I don't think I'm ever going to want to rewatch it. Michael Mann's other film, Collateral, which is one of my all-time favourites, I love. But this one didn't reach the heights for me, unfortunately. I still liked it. I still thought it was a really good crime movie, and I loved the performances, and because I love these two actors, but the movie didn't do much for me, unfortunately. I watched Colorado Space, Nicolas Cage. I did a review on this. Very wacky, very silly, very over the top, but entertaining. It wasn't anything great, but I had fun watching this absurd movie. Moving on, I watched The Gentleman. I also did a review for this. You can check that one out. But Guy Ritchie back to form, back to the British gangster movies where he belongs. And this movie was very entertaining. I really liked it. Really liked the performances. Hugh Grant was really funny in the movie. Enemy. I want to do a video on this, some form of analysis or just me speaking about the movie. One of the most confusing, thought-provoking films I've seen. Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, the yellow colour scheme, the shots that mean so much more, the dialogue that means so much more than expected. If you haven't seen Enemy, if you want a movie that's going to stick in your mind for weeks after watching it, just watch it. It is purely one of the best films I've seen from a thought-provoking experience where you have to think about the story and how it all circles together, how it all connects together, and the sudden imagery like with the spiders. Just watch it. I mean, if you haven't seen it, just watch it. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's the movies I love to watch. These are my favourite movies that just make me think about so many different things. Enemy was one of them. Just purely excellent. The symbolism, the just everything, the character work. Denis Villeneuve, I love the director. I think this one is my third favourite of his after Prisoners and Blade Runner 2049. I watched Ocean's 13. I've seen the first one, I've seen the second one. Ocean's 11 I think is great heist movie. Ocean's 12 was really disappointing. But Ocean's 13, there wasn't really much of a reason for this heist, but I enjoyed it. It's a solid heist movie, and it's a good time. Watched 12 Monkeys, starring Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt. Oh my god, this movie just boggled my head. I mean, with what's going on now, it was very similar to what's going on now, it was a bit strange, but oh my goodness, this movie was just so interesting. I can't even rate the film. There's not many movies that I watch, and automatically the second after I watch it, I have to see it again. I mean, the music, the incredible performance by Bruce Willis, and Brad Pitt, by the way, just the incredible story, how it keeps going in ways you don't expect, how the twists and turns are allowed, looking at the state of this character. It's purely one of the most interesting science fiction time travel movies I've seen, and it relates to very much about what's happening today. And I thought 12 Monkeys was purely and brilliant, and I cannot wait to see it again. I can't even rate the movie or give a consensus on it. I just have to experience it again for another time. Moving on, I watched Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, the last movie. Of course, I watched The Gentleman, and I've seen Snatch before, but I wanted to check out this movie. This was his first film, and this movie was probably my favourite of his. I loved the dialogue, I loved the way the story works out in each other, I loved the ending. It was so much fun. It was like tense and nail-biting, but also hilarious. Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, extremely fun. Probably my favourite Guy Ritchie movie. There we go. There's all the movies I watched in March 2020. Make sure to comment down below what you watched in March 2020. If you want reviews for all of these movies or lists or anything, just look at my letterbox down below. It's a great app, and has all my opinions on movies on there. And yeah, thanks for watching. It's much appreciated, and goodbye.